Sometimes I wonder why we are born if we are not going to be happy, but only look at happiness from the sidelines. Hello, dear people. My life is falling apart while everyone around me is building new and beautiful lives. I am a 27-year-old woman. I have been in a relationship for about a year, with interruptions, with a 35-year-old man. At first, everything was fine. He complimented me and treated me nicely. He presented himself as ideal, waiting for something real. Then, after 3-4 months, he started dumping me with the excuse that he didn't want a relationship. Until October of last year, when he contacted me again, and this time things supposedly became serious. But the old song again with a new voice. About a week ago, out of nowhere, he changed his attitude towards me. When I tried to figure out why this time, it turned out that another woman had contacted him, and who made him think about whether he wanted to be in a serious relationship. In addition, he told me that I was not attractive enough to him. And at first, he claimed that I was one of the most beautiful women he had ever been with. He wanted a woman that everyone would turn their heads after, who would be and dress sexy, but who would be only his, etc. When I walk down the street, I want to hide and no one will see me. I've felt this way for years, and recently, and because of a health problem, I started wearing looser clothes. This same man promised me, looking me in the eye, that he no longer wanted anyone else but only me. He wanted us to start a family, etc. When he told me all these things, I collapsed, and the next day he looked for me with the promise that he would change and make up for his attitude and that I had suffered enough. I don't know which of all hurt and ruined me, the fact that he has another girlfriend, the fact that he told me I'm not attracted to him, or the fact that he's treated me like this again right now, when my dear grandmother passed away. I cry every night, both for my grandmother and for this. It hurts, I'm sad, I just don't see the point of life. All my friends are happily married, some already have children, and others are getting married. All good occasions, and for me, it's always sadness in this life. Besides, when we get together in a group, we only talk about this, and somehow I feel like an outsider. It's always been like this. Nothing good has ever happened to me in love. While they were changing first, second, and third, I couldn't even manage to maintain a normal relationship with someone for a month. And I thought for a moment that this time might be different. Alas. There has always been interest in me, but when I decide to give someone a chance, history repeats itself. My biggest dream was to meet love, start my own family, etc. Since I was a child, I have been very sensitive, withdrawn, melancholic, and always searching for meaning in life. Why are we here? Why do we have to suffer? Why do some people get their dreams and others don't? I have always felt misunderstood and different. I have always lacked self-confidence, and this has already finished me off. I understand too, how would he want to be with me? Who would want to be with me? I am a burden. I probably take everything too personally. I've been struggling my whole life not to experience everything so intensely, but I just can't. The only good thing is my job, which hasn't been going well in the last few weeks, and I have no desire to continue. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't have the strength, physically and mentally. I accept any advice from you, as well as criticism.
First, to the person who wrote this, thank you. Thank you for sharing something so vulnerable and so deeply painful. Just reading those words, you can feel the exhaustion, can't you? The crushing weight of it all. So let's explore this together, not with criticism, but with some real clarity and understanding.
Before we dive into any single part of this, the first thing we absolutely have to recognize is the immense weight you are carrying. Feeling like you're collapsing, like you have no strength left, that is not an overreaction. It is a completely logical, completely human response to being under an incredible amount of emotional pressure for a very long time.
So why does this feel so completely unbearable? Well, it's because this isn't just one problem. It's more like a perfect storm. It's a convergence of multiple crises all hitting you at the exact same time, and each one is making the others feel so much worse.
I mean, just think about it. You're trying to navigate the emotional whiplash of this incredibly chaotic relationship, while you're also mourning the profound loss of your grandmother. Then, on top of all of that, you're dealing with the constant social pressure of seeing your friends hit all these milestones you dream of. Of course it all leads to this devastating blow to your self-worth. Of course you feel overwhelmed. Who wouldn't?
So let's just make this absolutely clear. Collapsing under this kind of weight is not a sign of a personal flaw. It's not a failure of character. It's actually a testament to the sheer size of the burden you've been asked to carry. It is simply a human response.
Okay, now let's zoom in a little bit on the relationship itself. Because to even begin healing, we have to look at his behavior with some cold, hard clarity. We have to separate his actions from what you've made them mean about your own value.
And this just lays out the chaos perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you've got these incredible words of promise and idealization. On the other, you have actions of devaluation and abandonment. This isn't just a misunderstanding. This is a profound and consistent pattern of inconsistency. And that means his words are not a reliable measure of reality, and they are definitely not a reliable measure of your worth.
When we see this kind of behavior, praising someone to pull them close, then devaluing them to create distance or control, it almost always points to a motivation that isn't about love. It's about the self. It's egocentric. His actions seem to be driven by his own needs, a need for admiration, for external status, and maybe even for a safety net.
So here's the crucial point. He wasn't looking for a partner, he was casting a role. And the script he wrote in his head called for a woman that everyone would turn their heads after. The moment you, for completely valid reasons, didn't fit that superficial script, his interest just vanished. This was never about who you are. It was about how you could accessorize his public image.
Understanding his motivations, that's one piece of the puzzle. But to truly understand the depth of your pain, we have to turn inward now. Because the intensity of this reaction, it really suggests he didn't create a new wound. It sounds like he tore open a very old one.
So let me just ask a gentle question. Is the agony you're feeling right now only because of this man's recent actions, or did his rejection simply activate a painful belief about yourself that's been there for a very, very long time?
And there it is. That thought right there. I am a burden. That is the true source of the devastation. This is not a new idea that he planted. This is the voice of a long-held insecurity, a fear that's been waiting in the shadows. All he did was come along and give it a megaphone. And this feeling isn't new, is it? You describe being sensitive and feeling different since you were a child. You mention a history of these repeating relationship patterns. This current crisis isn't just an isolated event. It's the painful culmination of a lifelong narrative of feeling misunderstood and not quite good enough.
So, given this deep and complex pain, where in the world does one even begin? Well, the answer isn't in some grand gesture. It's in small, deliberate steps that are all about creating safety and reclaiming your own power.
First, though, we have to acknowledge the severity of what you're feeling. These statements, they aren't just expressions of sadness. They are significant warning signs. They sound like the beginnings of a depressive episode, amplified by grief, and they signal a clear need for immediate, gentle care and professional support. You should not have to carry this alone.
So what might a path forward look like? Well, here are some first steps. Step 1. Create distance. You have to pause contact. It's nearly impossible for a wound to heal when it's constantly being reopened. Step 2. Honor your grief. Give yourself space to mourn your grandmother, separate from all the relationship drama. Step 3. Pause comparison. If social events feel like salt in the wound right now, it is 100% okay to step back for a while. And Step 4. Seek support. A therapist isn't for people who are broken. A therapist can provide a safe space for a sensitive and deep-feeling person to finally be understood.
And finally, let's address something that you see as a core problem, your sensitivity. I want to challenge that belief directly.
The very trait that makes this rejection feel so agonizing, your capacity to feel things so intensely, it is not a flaw. You could even call it a superpower that's been mishandled. Sure, in the wrong environment, it leads to immense pain. But in a healthy, safe environment, it's the very thing that allows for deep empathy, creativity, and the most profound kind of love.
This brings us to a really crucial shift in perspective. It seems there's this underlying belief that love is something you have to fight for, something you have to prove you're worthy of, something you have to earn. But that's the definition of a toxic dynamic. Healthy love, the kind of love you dream of, isn't a prize to be won. It's a gift, given freely and consistently.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. You feel like a burden because of your intense feelings. But what if that's not the truth? What if the part of you that feels this pain so deeply is the exact same part that will one day feel joy, connection, and love with an equal, beautiful intensity? Your sensitivity is not the problem. It is, and it always has been, your greatest potential.